Hello, my name is Sam Tracy, and I'll be proving that open note tests are just as effective in learning as closed note tests. Without connection to previous knowledge or reinforcement, 56% of what we are taught is lost within an hour, 66% of what we are taught is lost within a day, and 75% of what we are taught is lost within 6 days. I believe general facts and dates should be less focused on, as they are less sustainable in the human brain. And when we do get tested on those things, I think we should be able to use resources, since most of that information will be lost. In our real world jobs, we'll be allowed to use our resources when needed, and we won't need to know everything off the top of our heads. In middle school and high school, we are taught too much that we don't need or we won't apply in the real world. And we can just look up all those things on our phone if we need to at a later date. So to start off, I'll show that knowledge is not retained well between both of the forms of tests. And I'll show that open note tests are just as effective in learning. And I'll show why these tests will work. And then I'll show or create a petition to try and convince professors to move to more open note test. Open note exams are shown to be just as effective in learning, and a study by Garib and Phillips showed that the retention between open note tests and closed book tests are to be the same. And to do this, they would have an exam, both open and closed note, and then they would be given a pop quiz a few weeks after to see how much of that information they retained. And in this, you can't really see it, but there's only a 0.2 or 0.1 difference between all of the different forms of testing. So it shows that retention is really just about the same between all of them. Open note tests are also shown to lower anxiety within the students. And anxiety levels are lowest during open note tests. And to do this, they would also do the same thing where they would give open and closed note tests, and then they would have anxiety tests before the test to see what the levels like were before they were testing. And you can see that with a cheat sheet, they're a lot higher than when they are with a notebook. I think you can see that, hopefully. Open note tests also allow for more studying in the student, and this is because they will organize their notes better than they would if they were taking a closed book test, and they will create sort of a test book that will be effective when they are taking a test. And Garib and Phillips students reported to their professors that they spent more time studying, and then the discussions that they had in class were better since they were more engaged in their studies. And I think open note tests should be tailored more towards application and not memorization, where there are many jobs where you will have all the resources you need, and you won't need to remember everything right off the top of your head. And there's no situation where an employee will not be able to use their resources when they need it, and they won't need to know everything off the top of their head. To do this, I will create a petition for ICC to move towards more open note exams. And I will show the proof to the professors I have to see if they would rather have open note tests for it to have less stress and anxiety levels in their students, since it shows the same amount of retention as a closed book test. For a professor to change to a open note test, it will take minimal effort on their part. And honestly, if they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't have to at all. Theorists think that students will spend less time studying. There's no fact checked on that, but Gord and Phillips students tended to spend more time studying and creating a really good note system, so when they take the test, they'll be prepared well. So how you'll benefit is you will be more engaged when you take notes, so you can have a better note system when you take the test. You'll have less stress and anxiety, since I'm guessing most of us have anxiety before taking a test. And learning is enhanced by being more engaged in studying and taking our notes. So what I will do is I'll create a Google form and ask all of you to sign it if you would like to, even Mrs. Heidemann if she would like to sign it as well. And I will email this to other students and teachers within ICC, or if a later date, if I'm allowed to, when we go back to school and we're in person, have people sign it on a sheet or something. But it all needs to start with you guys if you would like to move to a more open note test system. To summarize this, retention is bad between both systems, and I don't think there's a way that we could make it better necessarily. But if we could change to open note tests, we'll have less stress within our students. It will be more practical for both the students and the professors, since it is easier on both of them. It has working classes before, just like Gurman and Phillips classes, and there is no signs that it doesn't work. And I'll just need to make a petition and get signatures from all of you guys if you would like to do it. With retention so low, a new form of test should be made and applied, like the open note test, which is less stressful on the student.